Impact confirmed. The Slayer has been activated.
Demonic threat level increasing.
Hold the line!
All the power of hell cowering before one man.
id Software presents Doom, The Dark Ages. Available now on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and PC.
Rated M for mature.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good morrow, everyone. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. Thank you for listening. Well, here we go again, folks. The MTA has announced its plan to increase subway, bus fares, and tolls by a total of 4% next year. The justification? They need help to fund their nearly $20 billion operating budget. Let me tell you what I think of this. Outrageous doesn't even begin to cover it. Let's start with the basics. The MTA is arguably the most poorly managed agency on the planet. Every New Yorker knows it. Mismanagement, inefficiency, and waste seem to be baked into their DNA. And yet, instead of tightening their own belts or getting their own house in order, they have the audacity to ask us strap hangers who rely on mass transit every single day to dig deeper into our own pockets. We're not talking about chump change either. If this 4% increase gets evenly distributed, subway fares could rise above the $3 per ride mark. That's on top of the hike we just had in 2023 when fares jumped from $2.75 to $2.90. At this rate, it feels like the MTA is testing just how much they can squeeze out of us before we stop riding altogether. And that's the real tragedy here. Increasing fares discourages mass transit use. We're supposed to be pushing for greener, more sustainable commuting options, right? But every time the MTA raises fares, it gives one more reason to opt for cars, contributing to traffic congestion and pollution. What's worse, these fare hikes are supposedly part of a smart plan to avoid a future crisis where fares jump by 20% all at once. That's the logic the MTA chair Jeannot Lieber is selling. Let me ask you about this. How does constantly nickel and diming New Yorkers reflect smart planning? It's like the MTA is holding us hostage with the threat of something worse down the line. And let's not forget, these increases aren't just hitting subway and bus riders. Commuter rail tickets and bridge tolls are also on the chopping block. This impacts everyone, from daily commuters to small business owners who rely on those crossings. Now, Governor Hochul and Albany lawmakers were able to lessen the blow of a planned hike in 2023 by increasing a payroll mobility tax. Will they do it again? The governor hinted it's possible, but honestly, why does it always have to come to this? Why can't the MTA fix its own structural problems instead of leaning on taxpayers, fare payers, or Albany for a bailout? This fare hike is just another symptom of the larger disease that is MTA mismanagement, and until there's a real overhaul of how this agency operates, New Yorkers ought to tell the MTA to take a hike.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
This episode is brought to you by Principles. Are there limits to the U.S. government's debt growth? What will happen if the debts are not curtailed? What should policymakers or investors do? Those are urgent questions that legendary investor and New York Times bestselling author Ray Dalio addresses in his new book, How Countries Go Broke: The Big Cycle. The book comes out in June and is available for pre-order today, wherever books are sold.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good morrow, everyone. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. Governor Kathy Hochul announced yesterday that 250 members of the National Guard will be deployed to New York City's subway system. This is part of an effort to improve safety and encourage more people to ride the trains. Let me be clear. I think this is a fine idea, one that's long overdue. We've all known for years that many New Yorkers are afraid to ride the subway. The fear of of crime has kept countless people from returning to public transit. It's one of the reasons ridership still hasn't fully rebounded since the pandemic. And yet, while this initiative is welcome, I have to ask why it didn't happen sooner. It was obvious there was a problem. Subway crime was splashed across headlines, and tragic incidents were shaking public confidence. Deploying the National Guard back then could have made a huge difference in restoring a sense of safety. But instead, we've seen delay after delay as if acknowledging the issue was politically inconvenient. Now, better late than never. Governor Hochul has finally stepped up, but this move is, in my opinion, an admission that there's a real problem with crime in our subways, something the governor has been hesitant to fully embrace. Here's what she said yesterday.
This is not in response to a specific crime. We're not seeing a trend that's alarming, but it's about continuing a strategy that has proven its success and expanding it to protect even more people.
I'm glad to hear the governor recognizes the importance of perception when it comes to public safety. Feeling safe is just as critical as being safe, and having uniformed National Guard members present sends a powerful message. The National Guard deployment also comes with other measures, like installing security cameras in every subway car. These are practical steps, but let's not lose sight of the bigger picture. This isn't just about reassuring riders, it's about addressing a public safety concern that's been simmering for too long. In March, the governor deployed 750 National Guards members to the subway after a conductor was slashed in the neck. That decision faced criticism from both sides of the political aisle, but the fact that the governor's doubling down on this strategy shows that it's working, or at least it's necessary. And honestly, it should be. Every New Yorker deserves to feel safe when they step onto a train, whether they're commuting to work, heading home late at night, or just going about their day. The subway is the lifeblood of this city. Protecting it isn't just a nice to have, it's essential. So while I wish this had happened sooner, I won't complain too much. Let's hope this is the start of a serious, sustained effort to make the subway system safe for everyone. Because if New Yorkers can't feel secure underground, then we're failing one of the most basic promises of city life. And that's bad news for everybody.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
That moment when you realize your skincare is actually working. That's Rodan & Fields, the #1 female dermatologist-founded skincare brand in the U.S. Designed by 2 dermatologists who don't just know women's skin, they know how to formulate for it. Rodan & Fields, love what you see. Tap the banner or visit rodanandfields.com/Spotify to get your exclusive welcome offer.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
The controversy surrounding Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s absentee ballot in New York has officially crossed into the realm of the absurd. Here's a man who has called New York home for decades, paid taxes here for years, and maintained his legal residency in the state. Yet, because of a court decision that deemed his residency claims a sham for ballot purposes, we're now supposed to believe he committed a felony by voting in New York? Give me a break. Let's get the facts straight. RFK Jr. lived in Westchester County for 30 years before moving to California in 2014. He still owns property in New York, has financial ties to the state, and has used the Katona address for voting purposes. The courts ruled against him in his bid to get on the New York presidential ballot, but that's a separate issue from his eligibility to vote. Nobody's questioning whether he was able to vote in the previous elections. Now, Westchester Democratic Chairwoman Suzanne Berger is asking for an investigation, claiming Kennedy thumbs his nose at the rules and wants him charged with voter fraud. Really? Does anyone honestly believe this is a case of voter fraud? Or is it more about political point scoring? This entire situation feels like overreach and bad faith. Let's think about the implications. If the courts now claim Kennedy doesn't have real ties to New York, what does that mean for the taxes he's paid here over the years? Should he get that money back? And what does it mean for others who split their time between multiple states or rent temporary residences for work or personal reasons? Are we going to start retroactively questioning every voter's residency status? This isn't about voter integrity. It's a political ploy. Kennedy has become a lightning rod due to his controversial views and his nomination for a cabinet position. This is less about protecting our electoral system and more about tarnishing his reputation. It's absurd. The real issue here is the inconsistency and pettiness of our political system. We've seen enough of these residency battles to know they're rarely about principle and almost always about politics. Can we be done with this? It's overdone. It's played. It's time to stop weaponizing residency disputes for political gain. Whether or not you agree with RFK Jr.'s politics, this case is a waste of time and resources. Let's focus on real issues because this is a distraction at best and a farce at worst. It's not as if Kennedy also tried to vote in California or Massachusetts or any other state. He cast one ballot in the state that he's been voting in for decades. Come on.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
It's rare to see Governor Kathy Hochul caught off guard, but Julie Farrar made it happen, and for good reason. Farrar, a lifelong activist and healthcare policy analyst, confronted the governor at an Albany mall about changes to the Consumer-Directed Personal Assistance Program, or CDPAP. Her concern? That the state's move to consolidate 700 payment service providers into a single company, Public Partnerships LLC, PPL, would devastate the personalized care for people with disabilities that this program was designed to ensure. Farrar is right to be worried, and frankly, so are the 280,000 New Yorkers who rely on CDPAP for care. By eliminating smaller billing providers, many of whom offer crucial services like language assistance, the state is trading human connection for cost-cutting efficiency. Governor Hochul claims the move will streamline the Medicaid program and save money. But the critics have a point. At what cost? Public Partnerships LLC has a troubling history. They've been accused of missing payments to home care workers and wage theft in other states. Is this really the company we want in charge of one of New York's most critical care programs? Advocates fear this decision commodifies care, treating people with disabilities as numbers on a spreadsheet rather than individuals with unique needs. Hochul's administration argues that this consolidation is necessary to address massive abuse within the program. But let's be honest. When has stripping away localized, tailored services ever led to better outcomes for vulnerable populations? Farrar's accusation that this amounts to commodification isn't hyperbole. It's a warning. To make matters worse, the contract with PPL has been shrouded in controversy. A lawsuit from the Empire Center alleges a lack of transparency in the bidding process, while advocacy groups and unions alike have raised red flags about potential bid rigging. This is an issue that both the left and the right are fired up about. Hochul's response? Dismissal. Her spokesperson claimed critics are spreading lies to protect their profits. But when even bipartisan voices like Republican Congressman Michael Lawler and Democratic Congressman Richie Torres are calling foul, maybe it's time to take a closer look. Julie Farrar didn't mince words when she told Hochul, "I don't want to hear sound bites anymore." And neither do we. It's not enough to promise that this overhaul will make the program better, stronger. Show us the plan. Reassure families who depend on these services that they won't be left in the lurch. New Yorkers deserve transparency and accountability, especially when it comes to caring for some of the most vulnerable among us. And that's not what we're getting.
Beam me up!
To be continued.